Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is the meeting of the Albemarle County Planning Commission. Today is May the 10th. And I will read this little statement before we open up for business, but the opportunities for the public to access and participate in the hybrid meeting are posted on the Albemarle County website on the Planning Commission homepage and on the Albemarle County calendar. Participation will include the opportunity to comment on those matters for which comments from the public will be received. And so it is now 6 o'clock and we will call the meeting to order. Let's establish a quorum. Madam Clerk, do you mind calling the roll?
Yes. Mr. Bailey,
Present.
Mr. Missile,
Here.
Mr. Carazana,
Here.
and Mr. Claiborne.
Here.
Mr. Bivens and Ms. Firehawk are absent.
All right, thank you. And so we have a quorum established. And so for the next item, other matters not listed on the agenda from the public. Madam Clerk, are there any participants online that wish to speak?
No, there are not anyone.
All right, thank you. And looks like there is nothing on our consent agenda. And so now we are on item number 4, ZMA 2021-00011, Heritage on Rio. Would anyone from the staff like to introduce that?
Thank you. Rebecca Ragsdale, Planning Manager. This is an applicant request to defer to a date specific. And it was advertised for a public hearing. So you will need to open and close the public hearing. And then we recommend that you move to defer the item to the July 12th, 2022 agenda.
Thank you so much for that report. And with that, we will open for public comment. We'll open the public hearing, I should say. Is there anyone, Madam Clerk, that wishes to speak to this matter?
No, sir, not at this time.
All right, is there a motion to defer this application to July 12th, 2022?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there
Second.
any further discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Mr. Bailey,
Aye.
Mr. Missile,
Aye.
Mr. Carazana,
Aye.
Mr. Claiborne.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, so committee reports. Commissioners, any updates? Mr. Missile.
Just have one update. I don't know a lot about the background of this, other than to say that my understanding is that the members of the Village of Rivanna, CAC, have resigned. And so quite honestly, I'm not sure what that means or what the next steps are there, but I understand they did disband several years ago and rebanded and now disbanded again, if reband is actually a word. So I'm not sure what that actually means for moving forward, but I wanted to mention that. And then there's a 5th and Avon Street meeting coming up on the 19th. And that is all I have to report.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Missile. Anyone else? All right, well, with that, we'll move on to a review of the Board of Supervisors meeting. Ms. Candace, would you like to review?
Thank you, sir. Candace Perkins, Planning Director. The Board of Supervisors met on May 4th. There were 2 planning items on that agenda. First was a request to amend a special use permit to allow for the expansion of the Greenbrier Veterinary Clinic. This item came before the commission at your March 1st meeting. The Board of Supervisors did approve that request. Second was a zoning map amendment for 1.89 acres in the Glenbrook development. And that item came before you at your March 15th meeting, and the board also approved that item.
All right, thank you, Ms. Perkins. Any questions for Ms. Perkins? All right, moving on to old and new business. So we have 2 items here. We'll start with item A, which is discussion of a new liaison for the Historic Preservation Committee. We formerly had Commissioner Jenny Moore serving on that, but with her stepping down, we now have a vacancy. And so we'd like to make an appointment to that commission, to that body from this commission. I know Ms. Firehawk said that she would be willing to serve, but she did not want to take that opportunity from anyone else who really had a strong desire to serve. So is there a strong desire to All right. Well, is there a motion to appoint Commissioner Firehawk to be our liaison to the Historic Preservation Committee?
I so move.
Any second?
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Mr. Bailey,
Aye.
Mr. Missile,
Aye.
Mr. Carazana,
Aye.
Mr. Claiborne.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. So you see what happens when you're not here, you get appointed to different things.
All right.
So-
Way it works.
That's the way it works. All right, item B, discussion of a new liaison for the AC 44 Phase 1 Work Group. Ms. Perkins, would you like to give an overview, background, or I'm happy to do that if you wish?
Sure, I can. So the AC 44 Working Group, they're first going to meet on May 17th. There's going to be a number of different phases, so there'll be 5 different working groups. So there'll be a number of opportunities for any commissioner to serve as a liaison to any of these groups. So it's going to be a 6-month term for phase 1. Each of the following phases and the work groups will also serve 6-month terms. They'll be meeting once a month. The first meeting is the state of the 17th. It's going to be from 12 to 2, but the set schedule hasn't been determined yet. They'll discuss that at the first meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. And I think it's just important to know that we'll all have a chance to serve. There's a lot of work to be done. So if you don't raise your hand for this one, there certainly will be other opportunities to do that. I do know that Commissioner Bivens has expressed interest in this. And so we're seeing the thumbs up here. So is there a motion to appoint Commissioner Bivens to AC 44 Phase 1 Work Group?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Bailey,
Aye.
Mr. Missile,
Aye.
Mr. Carazana,
Aye.
Mr. Claiborne.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and for our last item, items for follow-up, I will turn it over to our council.
So, Mr. Vice Chair, Andy Herrick with the County Attorney's Office. There were a couple items that our office had been asked about that I wanted to follow up with the commission on. The first of which was COVID-19 protocols. The chair had asked about that last week. And despite the fact that planning commissioners are not county employees for purposes of the personnel policies, I did share with the commission earlier today by email what the COVID-19 protocols are for county employees to the extent that that is helpful. The other item I've been working on that we've received a lot of questions about is the availability for remote participation in the event that a commissioner can't be present either due to an illness or some sort of family emergency. My thought had been to wait until the new state law became effective September 1st, but it seems like there's a demand or a need for a remote participation policy earlier than that. One of the limitations of state law is that there cannot be remote participation under the Freedom of Information Act unless the body has a policy allowing for it. The Board of Supervisors already has such a policy, but to my knowledge, none of the other public bodies of the county have such a policy. So one of the things that our office is working on doing is putting that policy in the rules and procedures of the various bodies of the county. You may have seen that I had sent out earlier today a proposed draft remote participation policy, or I should say, an addition to the rules of procedure that would allow for remote participation. So before commissioners could participate remotely, again, in the event of some sort of illness or family situation, the commission would need to adopt that rule. As I also pointed out in the email, the rules of procedure of the planning commission cannot be amended at the same meeting that they're brought up. There has to be notice at the next regular meeting, so that in the event that there's interest in allowing for remote participation, the earliest that could be done would be at the planning commission's next meeting on May 24th. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about remote participation, about the proposed rule, about the procedure for adopting that rule. But if there's interest on the part of the commission, we could give notice and put that on the next available agenda on May 24th for further discussion and possible adoption.
Thank you, council. So turn it over to the commission. What's your appetite, initial thoughts and reaction on such a policy?
I'm supportive of it. I mean, we have to at least bring it up to notice. From my understanding, that would be discussed at the next
Mhm.
thing.
All
So putting it on the formal docket makes sense.
All right. So we need to do a formal motion. for-
So if there's interest on the part of the commission, I think the motion would be to give notice and schedule a proposed amendment to the rules for consideration at the May 24th meeting.
All right. That was very legal-like, counsel.
I try.
So is there a motion to essentially do what council just said, to move forward with advertising a policy for remote work in a simplified fifth grade way? That's the way I think fifth grade. So is there a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? Is that motion clear enough, council?
It is. What we'll do then is if this motion were to pass, we'll just put it on the agenda for May 24th. We'll include it with the agenda package, the proposed rule, and a brief explanation of what it would do. That is clear. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Mr. Claiborne,
Aye.
Mr. Carazana,
Aye.
Mr. Missile,
Aye.
Mr. Bailey.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, we will be adjourning until May the 24th. So you have next week off and look forward to seeing each other in a couple of weeks. Is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. All right. I don't think we need to vote. I think that's all we do, right?
If there's no objection, we can stand adjourned.
All right. I don't hear any objections, so we stand adjourned. All right. All right.